This week, we're discussing a new mode for MLB the Show 23, and later today, we'll be releasing a supplemental episode covering the Nintendo Direct. This is the Good Game, Bad Game podcast.
This is a song I wrote about the Good Game, Bad Game podcast. Good Game, Bad Game podcast.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Good Game, Bad Game podcast. I'm your host, Spencer, and with me is a man who is just learning that MLB the Show Collector's Edition cover athlete Derek Jeter has a negative 165 for his defensive runs saved and a negative 186 for total zone total fielding runs, both of which are stats that show how above or below average a player is defensively, negative meaning he's incredibly below average. Yet somehow, despite being a truly terrible defender, jump throws and catches falling into the stands have tricked people into believing he was a good defender, resulting in 5 gold gloves. Also, Jeremy Giambi was safe. It's my co-host, Mike. Mike, how are you?
Damn. All sorts of shots fired.
I
So
think...
Go ahead.
I think Derek Jeter, great baseball player, did a lot for the game. Think he's an idol, somebody to definitely look up to. I mean, the jump throw is certainly amazing, but I think the numbers, tell a slightly different story. So I think being praised as a great defender is, vehemently false.
As someone who grew up around Derek Jeter in New York, but not as a Yankees fan,
Mm-hmm.
I think I'm offended. I think that's how I'm supposed to take that.
Yeah.
Like, you're stomping on my flag here.
Yeah, it is kind of what I'm doing. I look forward to hearing what good old 1S Chris has to say about this.
Oh, he's not going to be happy. I might have to give him a heads up. Where were you when he hit the 3,000th hit?
I was, I don't know, probably at home, maybe in school. Depends on what time the game was, and at what time of year. And what time of year. It was a home run, right? First 3,000th hit.
I don't know because I was on the toilet with diarrhea, but I know it happened. So I know where I was when he hit his 3,000th hit.
Oh my god, that's funny.
There's nothing like being sick to your stomach and being in bed all day and saying, well, at least I can watch the Yankees game to see his 3,000th hit. And then when he's up, when 2 people are up before him and, you don't really want to shit your bed and you come back and he's out taking bows. You don't tend to forget that.
Oh my god. Don't you hate it when your body betrays you when history's happening?
It often does.
Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, awesome. I'm very excited. The MLB the Show community has been craving Jeter finally being added to the game, so I love that they're doing it and also making him the cover athlete in one fell swoop. So
what team is he gonna be on if he doesn't play anymore? I'm confused.
Huh?
Huh?
They're adding him to Diamond Dynasty, so
I see.
Where there's legends and flashbacks and stuff like that. They'll be adding him there. So
Very exciting.
Yeah, well, you know what? To some people it is. Personally, I don't think he's going to be worth collecting all the players to get, so I'll get him, in August or September when I normally get the collection reward. But anyway, thought that was fun. Little double, victory for me. I got to talk about MLB the Show, and I get to take a quick shot at Derek Jeter, who again deserves to be in the Hall of Fame, all this other stuff. I just don't think he deserves 5 gold gloves. That's all. All right. So I kind of said it at the top, but due to just how Mike and I had to record stuff, we're going to be recording a supplement episode where we discuss the Nintendo Direct that is happening on the 8th. And that will be releasing later today. So if you're listening to this releases, podcast episode released 5 a.m. every Thursday. this still did, assuming barring anything horrible happening. And the supplement you can expect probably around like 12-ish noon. I'll probably get it up by then and just have it scheduled to go up then. And we'll just jump right into it, and it'll just be all about the direct. But we wanted to make sure we covered it. It just, of course, this tends to happen with directs and stuff where you and I have to like kind of scramble and figure out how the hell we're going to like cover them, because there's always seems to be something. So nonetheless, just get that out of the way. With that said, Mike, how was your weekend games?
Did I talk about Unravel 2 last week?
I think you said Justine was playing Unravel and that you guys were gonna play Unravel too. I don't know if you
Okay,
actually said you started it.
well, if I didn't, we played Unravel 2 apparently in the past week.
Okay.
That's the game's pretty fun. I dig
Yeah.
it. It's like somewhere between Mario and It Takes Two.
Yeah.
I think what finally made Justine pull the trigger on playing that is she wanted to play New Super Mario Bros. With me. And she is very good at like the 2D Mario Brothers game. I am very bad,
Yeah.
especially when there are two players on the screen.
Yeah. Yep.
Uh, so yeah, that didn't go well. So we played Unravel 2. That was fun. Um, it is nice that game like actually works with trophies where like unlike Overcooked 2 where Justine get an achievement and I wouldn't. We are
Mm-hmm.
both getting achievements now, even though it's a little glitchy with two people and we've had to go back a couple times. Um, yeah, that's fun. And then other than that, as far as single player games have been going, I've really just been playing Cyberpunk.
Nice.
Expected to get an achievement for completing all of the gigs and did not. So that
Hmm.
was kind of a buzzkill.
Really?
Yeah, there's like one for I think you have to like also do all of the police scanner
And
activities.
it like lumps those together.
Yeah.
Oof.
And so I looked at the map and just like filtered by police scanner activities and holy, I must have 100 of them.
Yeah. So that'll be a slow burn. At least you get to keep playing the game.
Yeah, I'm not really in a rush,
Yeah.
it's just holding me over until the DLC comes out, but still enjoying it. Still really liking that game.
That's awesome. Very cool.
Um I have it as a goal to get back into Forza Horizon 5. And we'll see how that goes. Obviously not in the near future, but maybe towards the end of the month.
Right.
Yeah. How's getting caught up on MLB before new MLB comes out?
I've not been playing MLB. Don't worry.
Liar.
Though I will probably. I actually have already. I downloaded the PS4 version of MLB the Show 22 so that I can, right before 23 comes out, start playing 22 again, get the platinum in it because of course, but also get my skills, back up so I'm ready, because sometimes that like first couple of games you play on the new one, your timing is just so off, you just are terrible because you went like, I don't know, 60 days without playing. So, um it'll soon be that time, but for now, uh I let's see. I played. There's this game was called The Book of Unwritten Tales 2, and I got to be honest. This was one of the first times I played a game and like right away knew that I was just gonna hate it, and still played it to get the platinum. It was leaving PS Plus. It was like one of the games that was leaving, and so I was like, all right. I always gauge right off the bat, like look on like PlayStation trophies, PSN profiles, whatever. Get like an idea from like a walkthrough of like how difficult is it, how long is it going to take, And this was like, it's like a story game. It's like a Telltale game. Little more involved. You have to like, no, it's actually probably about a Telltale game. You just it's more involved in terms of like, you don't just need to complete chapters like in like The Walking Dead or anything, and you just get all the trophies. Like you just beat the game and that's it. You have to like make sure you do like certain things to actually get certain trophies to pop. And so it was like a 2 out of 10 in difficulty. So I was just like, all right, how bad can it be? It was so fucking bad, dude. It was just so bad. Like I just like could not find it in me to care at all about the story. Like couldn't even tell you really what it was about at the end of the day. But I got a platinum. So, and it's really funny because Shelby and I were just talking about it, and she was saying like, would you play, like she was talking about reading, and she like gave up on reading a book. And I was like, yeah, you only have so much time. She's like, yeah, exactly. Would you play a game that you don't like, or would you like stop playing it? And I was like, is there a platinum? And she goes,
Scratching your skin.
yeah, she goes, yeah, sure. And I go, well, I was like, I probably would just get there. I was like, well, how difficult is it like to get the platinum? And she was like, a 7. And I was like, I can make a 7 work. I was like, no, if I actually like really don't like it, no way. But like a 2 or a 3, and like all I have to do is walk around, yeah, I'll do that. No problem. But yeah, it wasn't like, I don't know, it just wasn't like, I think of like other games like that where like it kind of reminded me of, do you know the game Day of the Tentacle?
I'm familiar with it.
So it's
Yeah.
like that. And like I had played that like I don't know how long ago. And I played through that and like I don't know, like the writing in it was funny and like uh I don't know, I just overall just I guess liked it more. But could not get behind this Tales Book of Unwritten Tales 2. So anyway, then I was trying to figure out what the hell do I start playing. Now that I'm all caught up on games leaving. So I got back into Dragon Quest Builders 2. I had started that a while ago and then like fell off because of other stuff, I think. And then regardless, jumped back into that. So I think that's going to be my like main thing now. But I also found out that today just happened to be looking on the store and they updated it and another game is now leaving. And I was like, can't have that. And it's Pure Farming 2018. Effectively not Farming Simulator, but Farming Simulator
But
2018.
more pure.
And I was like, hell yeah, a good old farming sim, sign me up. So got 2 weeks as of today to get that done, and you know I will because I'm a sucker for a farming sim, and I
Oh,
looked it
yeah.
up, super easy, shouldn't take me more than like I don't know 20 hours I think it said. So I was like, oh, that's nothing,
Holy.
that's cake. Are you saying holy because that's a lot, or
Yeah.
oh,
Yeah.
or holy because it's not?
Because it is.
20 hours?
Yeah.
That's 2 days of work for me.
Okay. But you have to understand that, like, I just crossed the 90-hour mark in Cyberpunk, and, like, I'm pretty proud of that.
And it's like, yeah, as you should.
But, like, if a game takes me over 8 hours and I'm just playing for the sake of playing, I think I go into that Shelby paradigm of it's not really worth my time.
Well, this is for trophies. I'm built different or whatever the kids say.
Yes, you're lit.
I'm no, I'm stupid. But no, other game I've been
I
playing.
think that's ableist. I don't think you could say that.
Oh, maybe. Is it okay if I call myself it though?
Probably not. If I'm
Yeah,
just gonna err on the side of caution.
it's fair. Um, the other game I've been playing has been Hades, and you popped in the stream for a little bit while I was
Yeah.
playing it. Thank you very much. I appreciate you. Appreciate the sub. Appreciate you putting out the good word of the Good Game Bad Game podcast. I've been playing that. I've defeated Hades twice.
Give the guy a break.
It is so good, dude. It is so good. I've made it to Hades 4 times now. Beat him twice. It's a good 500 win percentage. I'll take that. It's so much fun. I mean, I was hooked instantly after like the first couple of runs that I played, but like so phenomenal, dude. I love it so much, and there's so many different aspects to it still that like I feel like I'm only just uncovering and understanding like what to do. Um, Absolutely loving it. Absolutely loving it. Very, very good game. Hate myself for sleeping on it for so long. Um, Definitely has me like kicked in, like it's like kicked me in the ass that I'm like gotta jump into Cult of the Lamb, like ASAP. I know London told us he responded to one of the tweets and said that like he had just started Nobody Saves the World, I think, and has been saying how good that is. Like that's on my short list as well. Like got to get on these because these are all games that are literally right up my alley. I just haven't gotten around to them. So it's lit a fire under my ass, I guess is what I should have said. But yeah. Uh the only other thing, last thing, finally, is I also started Final Fantasy IV. Saw my Vita, was collecting dust again, quickly blew that off. And I was like, all right, gotta get some use out of you. I had seen something about the Final Fantasy VII, like uh whatever the second chapter of like the remake is called. It's called something else. Rebirth, maybe. I don't know, but that's coming out potentially in 2023. And I saw that and I was like, holy shit! I forgot I was playing through the Final Fantasy games. So I started playing Final Fantasy IV, and I don't know how much I talked about 2 and 3. I know I talked about 1 when I was playing it, but I started playing 4, and immediately I was like, okay, all right, still old, still can tell it's old, still plays old, but if you are a modern gamer and you're like, I want to go play back and play Final Fantasies, just start at Final Fantasy IV. Trust me. Just start on 4. Instantly was just like, I know what's going on. I'm not confused as to like what the hell I need to do. It's still a bit of a mess of like trying to figure out where you need to go, but like for the most part, I know what I need to do and where I need to go. And the battle system is just like so much faster paced and feels just much more. It's like all on a timer, so you just like attack as soon as your timer fills, and then you like keep going. Um, it's much nicer. It's not just like you go, then an enemy goes, then the other enemy goes, then your other person goes, then you go again, then your person goes again for some reason. Like it's all laid out and you can just see it. Um, and it's really nice. So also going to be trying to chip away at that a little bit so I can get caught up. I have it all planned out. Got to play through that 5 and 6 on the Vita, and then I can switch over to playing everything on the console because I think all of them are on the PS Plus library from 7, like the original 7, but like the like PS1 Classic is on uh the highest subscription tier I think for PlayStation Plus, and then like 8 all the way up to the 7 remake, I believe are all on there. So now I'm done. You can applaud.
I asked a really dumb question and then I started to retract because I realized it was a dumb question and just saw that I was on mute.
Yes, you
And
were me.
clap, 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 clap.
All right. Let's get into what we want to talk about. And it's again what I want to talk about. I don't know if you saw or not, um, but MLB the Show announced that they were adding a new mode to this year's release, MLB the Show 23. And the new mode is they worked with the Negro League Museum and work together with them to create basically like a storylines mode where you play some like key moments in the Negro Leagues focused around, I believe, 8 players. Um, Most of them are escaping me, and this is why I'm actually really excited about it, is because there's not a ton of good coverage of these players. Like you only know about the ones who made the leap from the Negro Leagues eventually to the MLB after Jackie Robinson broke the color barrier. And you just think about it and it's just like there's so many people who like put in all this work and effort to be the best at their craft, and they get no recognition because at the time they could have been the best player ever, and simply because of the color of their skin we have so little like trackable data of like what it is that they did. And it sucks. One of the people I know is Satchel Paige that they're focusing on, who again he made the jump. So it's like really well known how good he is, despite the fact that he only played how many years, because the first half, 3/4 of his career, he wasn't allowed to play in the majors. He could only play in the Negro League. Um, so I think this is great. I think it's a great way to grow the game. I think it's a great way to give recognition to people who most people probably have never heard of. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if even the average baseball fan hadn't heard of Satchel Paige. Um, I'd maybe be a little surprised, but nonetheless, like, I think this is really cool. I think it's a great way to, again, grow the game and show some of these storylines. We all know the Jackie Robinson story. If you haven't, there's a great movie about it, 42. Highly suggest going and watching it. Um, but I think that's like fairly well documented and fairly well taught. This is a great way to hear some of those other stories and actually play through them, just like you do with like the moments that they have you play as Babe Ruth, who was probably a racist. So let's champion some other people. And yeah, especially the ones who didn't make the jump at any point because their careers ended before Jackie Robinson broke the color barrier. But again, you think about it like you know, black children and African American children had to have people that they looked up to. So, you know, who knows who it was that like Jackie Robinson really took after. You know, I'm sure he wasn't looking up to major league players because he probably felt like he was never going to be able to like play in that league, right? So, uh, you know, you can kind of start to like see like, oh, this person was, you know, the Mike Trout at the time, right? Like this is the person that everybody wanted to be. Um, and it's why we got these players who then, you know, once the color barrier is broken, actually were able to like come over and start to make that impact and that difference that we now know about. I just think this is such a cool idea. I'm so happy that they're doing this. I never, like in a million years, would have thought of it, and so I think that's great. Like, um, I hope they do it. Like, I hope they do it right. I hope they like get it really fleshed out. I think they said that like basically they're doing it in like seasons, so each year is going to be a new season focusing on new players. But I hope it's like really fleshed out. I hope it's not just um, like, oh, Satchel Paige threw the first no hitter in the Negro League. Um, like, you know, playing as Satchel Paige, no hit, such and such team. And like that's it, right? That's the only thing they have for him. Hopefully they give like tons of moments for each of these players and like hopefully it's like really fleshed out. And it's not just like one and done. It's like, there you go, you learned about it. So I have high hopes, but yeah, curious, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I actually saw the announcement for this come up on my YouTube feed today. So I was glad when you messaged me and said you wanted to talk about it. Um, it's going to be the reason. I'm pretty sure it was confirmed that that the new MLB game is going to be on Game Pass this year. I'm like, oh, cool. Well, now I have a reason to install it and play it because that does really interest me. Um, Funny story: a couple of years ago, um, Justine was going through like a family member's things that were being gotten rid of and found this really nice jersey that said Detroit on the front and it was, the blue and orange and everything. So she grabbed it for me and gave it to me like, oh, that's really cool. I was like, this isn't a Tigers jersey though. And I'm looking at it and it says stars on it. And on the one sleeve and on the other side, it's got the Negro League patch.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like a really nice jersey. I don't know how old it is. Like I don't think it's like, of that period. I think it was probably just like
Like a remake or something.
yeah.
Yeah.
I was like, "Oh man, that's really cool." And I read about the Detroit Stars and they were a charter team for the Negro League, but never really took the time to learn about like the history, the players, the significance of that specific team. So I imagine there's going to be some of that in this, and even if there's not, just to have some of the general history of the league and the other players. It's really exciting. So I will probably pick it up myself and play it just for that um, feature alone.
Yeah, I mean, you just like think about this and like I kind of liken it to Assassin's Creed, how they started doing those like discovery modes where you can like just walk through the time period and like see various things and like learn about it. And it's just such a great opportunity to like mix education and video games together where you can still be playing and having fun and like active in it. But at the same time be learning and like again like taking in that history and realizing like what things were and how we eventually got to where we are today. It's really important. Um, and I definitely think it needs to be documented better. I want to say it was a year or two ago that like the MLB officially announced that like I could be wrong about this, but I could have sworn they announced that like players' stats in the Negro leagues counted as major league stats. So uh like if they like made the Hall of Fame or something, you wouldn't say like, oh, they had like this batting average in the Negro leagues and then this batting average in the MLB. It would just be like all together. I want to say they did that. Um, but I mean, like that doesn't take away the fact that like again, for the longest time, it was like impossible to even know anything about it outside of like again the few players who like played in both leagues basically. So I'm excited for it. I think it's a great opportunity. I love the fact that I feel like I know most of the uh like I'll say like big names again, like the people who are known for like making the jump between the two leagues. Um and so the fact that I recognize the name Buck O'Neill and I definitely know Satchel Paige, but outside of that, I'm a little hit or miss on the other names. That has me super excited. Oh, and Jackie Robinson, of course. But yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I just hope, like I said, they do it well, they have it fleshed out, and they really give you a chance to learn about these players and the time.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. I mean, he's in the Baseball Hall of Fame, but Norman Stearns, who was a big player for Detroit, I'm pretty sure he went to the MLB at some point. Well, maybe not. I don't know. So it'd be interesting to get more stories on that. 'Cause, I mean, he was, um, he's in the Baseball Hall of Fame
Right.
and was, still a fantastic baseball player, regardless of, um, what league he played in.
Right.
And I think he was, sorry, I'm also kind of like pulling up the Wikipedia as well because I was looking at what you said about them bringing in stats from the Negro League to count as like MLB stats.
Maybe they didn't. Maybe I'm misremembering that. But
No, I think you're right. But I think when they did that, I don't want to misquote the facts, but ended up being like a league leader in triples or something like that. If I understand what they're saying correctly. So it's just interesting, you just think about the sport of baseball and what this league meant to what baseball is today. It's just kind of like you said, just cool they're shedding light on it.
yeah, I mean, again, there's so many guys who like even guys who had long MLB careers. Like um, Minnie Minoso, right? Really good player, well documented how good he was. But nonetheless, his first 3 seasons, he played in the Negro League, and it's just like it's just crazy. I think like more light needs to be put on that to really show um kind of how ridiculous it was, right? For for the time and everything. But also again to just showcase like how important these players were and like all they had to go through to get the recognition. And again, think about all the people who don't get that recognition and would rightfully deserve it. So, yeah, very cool. Round of applause to MLB the Show for this idea. Again, I think it's a wonderful idea. But yeah, the other thing before we get into our Last of Us review that I wanted to talk about was I got the Dualsense Edge. That's right, you peasant.
Wow.
Look up at
everyone I know that has a PS5 has ordered one.
What's that?
Or never mind. I thought that Chris did order one, but I think he just said he was going to if he came across one or something.
Oh,
Anyway.
yeah. So I'll give my little quick review of it in case you care about my voice over the likes of every other major outlet that has already put out an entire thing about it, talking about how the battery life isn't good and all that stuff. So the first thing I'll say is if you've never used one of these controllers before, and I'm assuming they're pretty good in shooters, but you don't play shooters, you're going to get it and you're going to go, this is awesome. Now, how am I going to use this? Because that's exactly what I did. Instantly was just like, oh, nice, this controller's sick. Holding it in my hands, first off, feels amazing. Feels like a DualSense, but it has like little grippies, and it's so nice. Love that. But then like you get the bells and whistles where you have like the changeable analogs and the like back bumpers that you can add. And I was just like, I have too much choice and this is bad. Like I need people to like release like custom setups that they use and then like that'll be good. But like trying to figure it out on my own, I'm just like, I can't do it. But I did find a really good use for it with Hades because square is your attack, X is your dash, and sometimes you need to dash and attack. And there was something about doing both of those and like the leverage I needed to hit both of those buttons at the same time with just my thumb that was like straining my wrist. So I moved and put the back bumper on the left side to be my dash. And so that way all I had to press was square. And so now I can dash around and attack like a motherfucker. And it's great. I love it. But yeah, so I haven't messed around with too many of like the bells and whistles. I did mess around with like the triggers and how you can change like how much they like to press as you like hold them in and stuff. And that's really neat. Again, I like did it and I was like, okay, this is cool. And then instantly I was just like, okay, now how am I going to use this? Where am I going to use this? But the controller, it feels like a pretty good upgrade to what is already, I think, probably the best controller that I've ever used. I love the DualSense, and this just feels like a nice little extra bells and whistles that aren't within the first one, and the first one already has some cool ones that weren't in controllers really. So yeah, I like it. I like that I can put it back in its case and charge it through the little back. You can like pop that open and just like put the cord right through. So that's pretty cool. And in terms of like the battery life, I did 2 fairly long Hades streams with it, probably like 3 hours each, give or take. And it wasn't until my third one that I think it popped up with the notification that it was dying. So I probably got 6+ hours out of it. But the one thing I will say is that I didn't have like both triggers in. I didn't have the or the back bumpers. I didn't have the triggers like set at like a certain thing. I don't know how that all impacts it. So
I mean, that's all mechanical stuff, so I can't imagine very much.
yeah, I don't know. I don't know how to build a computer. I don't know how to build a controller. I don't know how to make a video game. So I can't say for certain. But yeah, I mean, the DualSense has a shitty battery life. That's well documented. Um, it's longer than some people make it out to be because they just go off of the notification that it's dying, and I've gotten to the point where I just let it completely die before I actually, because I know I have a good bit until it actually does. Um, so yeah, I technically don't know like how far this would go because I immediately went and got the charger because I was about to fight Hades and I didn't want it to die while I was in the middle of that fight.
Right.
Uh, but yeah, I mean it's pretty sick. It's again, it's the same size. It's not like it's bigger than the Dualsense. Um, but it like feels really good in your hand. It's got good feel, good hand feel. I really like it. I just got to figure out more ways to use it and implement it.
That was my biggest thing when I got the first Xbox Elite
Oh,
controller
thank God.
was like, cool. I've got this controller
Now what?
that's got like different thumbsticks. Yeah, exactly. Kind of like you said, it's great if you play competitive games. Like, sorry, let me rephrase: competitive shooter.
Right.
Um, and I have kind of found an advantage the few times that I've done that, and it's kind of nice with the Elite One because you can set up two profiles. So I have one, and I found the best implementation of it for me is the back buttons. The back four back paddles are the face buttons.
Okay.
So like, how many are there? Two extra paddles on the back of the DualSense Edge, or is
Yeah,
it just
it's two back buttons, and you have a choice of like a long. I'll have to send you like a picture of it. Like
okay?
you have different options of like it's like a long one or a short one that you can like pop in there.
Okay. So it's only like 3 extra buttons then. So, like, you couldn't map it to, like, X, O, triangle, square?
No, I could only map it to X and square
Oh, okay.
or
I
X
see.
and O or yeah, you have two additionals.
Yeah, I that feels kinda useless to me. I mean, when I had I mean, I still have it, but the PS4, edition that had 2 buttons,
Mhm.
like, that was cool if you could make it work for specific games. So, like, when that came out, I was actually kinda playing Warzone, so that was nice because then, like, I could make the reload button one of them, and then like I probably made the jump button X the other one, so then I wouldn't have to like take my fingers off of the sticks as much.
Mhm.
And that was a decent use of it. I think the only other game I really used it with was Horizon Zero Dawn, and I basically just made it like the crouch button, and then I think it was like right on the D pad, which maybe gave you your inventory or
Sure.
something like that.
Yeah. I gotcha.
I think that was fine, but then yeah, when Halo Infinite first came out, I set up a new profile, and it's just like a physical switch to go back and forth. That was kind of nice because I made it like two of the paddles jump and reload, and then I actually turned off clicking in the left and right analog sticks
Mhm.
and made those, like, we'll just call it L3 and R3. I know it's not the right
No, I got you though.
syntax for Xbox, but made that paddles because I was like stress meleeing all the time,
Yeah.
and that was really nice. But I'm also glad to hear that the actual trigger restrictions work well on the DualSense Edge because on the first uh, Elite controller, I can't speak to the new one, but on the first one, it's completely worthless.
Yeah.
Um, I don't play a ton of competitive shooters on Xbox, but when Halo came out, I was playing it on there. And with the Elite Series 1, you only have like full trigger pulls, or like I think it pretty much equates to like half a trigger pull. And when you set it to half, it just doesn't register. And it's kind of annoying. And
Yeah.
then like with Cyberpunk, I've been actually playing that with my Elite controller just so I can, say I'm using my Elite controller. Um, and I put on the trigger restrictors because I'm working on like handgun challenges
Okay.
for achievements. And I get in the car and it's like reaching a top speed of like 70, which in that
Yeah.
game you can go well over 100.
Right.
And I'm like, well, I'm not going to keep switching this back and forth.
So
So
you just take nice little drives.
yeah, follow traffic laws and
Love it.
yeah. No,
Um,
I just don't use the restricted triggers.
I gotcha. Yeah, I mean, is it worth? Well, I don't know. I think it's $200. Is it worth $200? I don't know if I can. I don't know if I can definitively say that or not. Do I think it's cool? Yes. So take that for what it's worth.
Hmm.
Um,
Cool definitely has a price tag of $130.
so yeah, I just gotta figure out more ways to use it. Also, to your point, it has have the whole profile thing, which is very nice. I've only set up 2 thus far, which is like just a default one that I can just like easily go back to and just have it play as a regular controller. And if I accidentally bump the back bumper, doesn't matter. And then like the profile where I have it mapped for my Hades stuff. So
That is the one thing that's nice on the Xbox controllers is like the sync button that you use to connect it to your Xbox. If you double tap it, it turns off the extra paddles.
oh, that is nice.
So you don't have to go in and mess around with profiles and such.
Maybe there's something like that that I just don't realize, but nonetheless, I
How
can't imagine I would have more than 4 have a need for like 4 definitive profiles anyway. So
is it heavier than the regular DualSense?
yeah, I want to say it's a little heavier. I
Yeah.
admittedly don't think I've actually held both at the same time to like kind of gauge that, but it does feel beefier for sure.
That was worth all the money to me when I got the Elite Xbox controller. I was like, I
Yeah,
don't even need to use all this extra stuff. I'm not a competitive gamer, so I don't really need to, but just to have a controller that like is this
the
heavy.
feel, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, the DualSense alone already, like I because Shelby and I will play like 7 days, and so she plays that on the PS4, and I like at one point was trying to like turn it on and like have stuff downloading on there for her, and I like picked up the PS4 controller, and I felt like I was like as I was picking up, I was just gonna like chuck it across the room in one motion. I was like, Jesus, it's so light, like not at all what I was prepared for. I've also
Mm.
been really working out, so
Yeah. Get swole.
um, but yeah, it does definitely feel beefier than the DualSense already, which again had some good weight to it. So, but yeah. All right. Well, it's now time, I believe, for you and I to talk about our favorite TV show on TV right now, The Last of Us. So, if you don't want to hear any spoilers for The Last of Us, and you're trying to save to watch, I'll let you leave now. Thank you for listening. We'll talk to you next week. No, wait. Go listen to the supplemental episode where we talk about the Nintendo Direct. But if you want to hear Mike, let's talk about episode 4 of The Last of Us, which was, I'll real quick give my opinion. I think technically the worst thus far. However, still thought it was very good.
It's so hard. I mean, like,
Or not worst, least favorite, right? I don't
yeah,
want to say worst, but this was definitely my least favorite, but it was necessary. We'll put it that way.
it's also so hard to go from episode 3
Yes.
to episode 4. I mean, it's a totally different show at that point, you know.
Yeah. 100%.
Um, yeah, I was honestly confused in the game.
Yep.
Do they go through Kansas City?
No, so yes, that was gonna be like my one thing is like that's the one thing they changed was that all the stuff that's happening to them is the Pittsburgh stuff,
Okay, that's what I thought.
but instead they're using Kansas City. I'm assuming it's because like per the story they've been on the road for like 2 days, and so they're probably trying to say like, well, after 2 days you'd probably have been able to make it this far, sort of deal, and
Well,
you.
I had to go through all that traffic on 76 outside of Philly, so let's be
um,
honest, they weren't getting past Philly.
yeah,
If
it's a good point. Very unrealistic. 0 out of 10 show. That would be my assumption. I haven't looked at anything to see why they made that change. But that's just kind of like my best guess at it. But like instantly I was just like, I was like, oh, I was like, nice, they're in Pittsburgh, and then uh he either said Kansas City or yeah, I think he was like, yeah, we're just outside Kansas City. I was like, did they skip all the Pittsburgh stuff? I was like, I feel like that was like a ton of stuff. Um, not realizing that that's like when Henry and that whole storyline happens.
Mhm.
And then it was like the whole scene because I was waiting for the scene where like the person like comes out into the road and then Joel like guns it, hits the gas. I was waiting for that scene because I was like really excited to see like how they do it and like watch it be basically shot for shot. And then that scene happened, and I was like, okay, they're just doing all the quote unquote Pittsburgh stuff, but in Kansas City. So long winded way of me saying, I don't think they went through Kansas City in the game, or at least I don't think anything happens in Kansas City, but I could be wrong. But they're effectively currently playing out the Pittsburgh storyline there.
Gotcha. I mean, it's a small point, but I thought that was confusing. Um, yeah, I mean, overall, it was like you said, it was a necessary episode. It's setting up. Well, it's actually going to be this week's because they have another episode on Friday
Yep.
to not coincide with the Super Bowl, which is perfect timing for me too, because then I can actually watch it in the next week
Yeah.
and not have spoilers, even though I know exactly what's going to happen,
But you just
as
don't
is
know
my
where
paradigm every week.
you just don't know where they're gonna make like these like little changes. So
Yeah. Um, yeah, I think it set the stage well for the upcoming episode.
yeah. Um yeah, still think it was done really well. The Ellie, the whole like conversation between Joel and Ellie, where Joel's like, "We're up early, get some rest," and she's like, "I'm not even tired," and then it hard cuts to her like asleep, mouth open, and
Yeah.
then like slowly waking up as they like again in the game come up to Pittsburgh in this Kansas City. And it like again, shot for shot, they like did it. And I was like, that's so good because it's such a great moment in the game. It's so funny. It's such like a child mentality of like, I'm not even tired, and then zonked.
Right.
And they like did it in the show too, and I was like, love that. The Ellie having like uh men's like guess effectively like porn magazine, and she
Mhm.
like does the like so long fellas and chucks them out the window. That was great. um i think like I think Pedro Pascal and Bella Ramsey really nail like the the like sort of chemistry that like they have, like it like you really feel like uh they just do a really good job of bringing these characters to life, I feel like. I've thoroughly enjoyed it. And you're finally getting to the point where like Joel is somewhat like opening up to Ellie a bit, um, which is great. Um, yeah,
Yeah, I
they're
mean,
doing such a good job with it.
you have like the whole, and this was probably the most important moment of this episode, the whole thing where Ellie shot the guy,
Mm-hmm.
and that obviously affected Joel, and even though she's just in air quotes cargo to him, like
Right.
that's when he realized that this is more than just this cargo. And the last scene of him, well, second to last scene of him laughing at Ellie's joke
Yeah.
before they went to bed, like it seemed like such a, I don't want to say, I don't want to say, I'll say uneventful episode, but it's really setting up the whole
A
dynamic of
hundred
what their
percent.
relationship becomes.
A
and
hundred
and it's
percent.
just it's so subtle but so necessary.
I mean, this is where their relationship truly changes because, like you said, he starts to see her as like, oh shit, she's not just cargo. She's a fucking kid. Like, and like starts to realize maybe he was too hard on her and like stuff like that. And like you see him start to have these like realizations. Because yeah, he just wanted her to be cargo. He didn't want to have like an attachment to her. But also, at the end of the day, zombies are real. So, um,
But not in Kansas City.
but not in Kansas City. Uh,
White trash.
Couple of other really fun things about this episode, that I thoroughly enjoyed. Uh, Jeffrey Pierce. the actor for Tommy, um, is one of the like militia guys. Um,
Oh, really?
he's the dude who has like the really bushy beard and long hair with like a silver almost streak in it.
Not,
That's
what's his name? Like the militant guy, right?
yeah, Percy. Yeah, I think his name's Percy. I don't know if they said his name actually. Now that I think about it, but he was with Kathleen.
Yeah.
Yeah, him. That's Tommy from the video game.
Oh, from the I was like, "That's not the same actor they're using for
Yeah.
Tommy in."
Yeah. Sorry. Yep. My bad. So the guy who did like the game, that Tommy.
Yeah.
A
Okay.
lot of the actors, I guess, like Troy Baker's gonna pop up at some point. We're gonna have a Troy Baker jump scare that I look forward to. Ashley Johnson is also in it, but yeah. Sorry. So Tommy from the game was in this episode, making like a cameo, basically, um, as like the head militia guy with Kathleen. Um, so that's cool. Like I love that. I love that they're finding a way to get these guys and gals who like worked and did all the stuff for the game into the show. Um, and then also I love how like through the dialogue of the show, they're like showing how like Ellie goes into a room and has to move shit out of the way for Joel to get into said room, like in the game. Like you need Ellie to
Yeah.
crawl through stuff. And he's like, he tells her to go through the wall and whatnot, and then like a ton of stuff happens, but she goes back through there and he's like, I can't fit through there. You're gonna have to go move stuff. And then you watch her like go and start pulling the desk and he's like pushing the door open. And I'm like, oh, it's like the game. Like it's so great.
Yeah,
Like they have to like figure out the level design just like we had to.
it's so funny. The first thing I noticed was, like, when Joel was with Tess, and they both had to, like, I think, get respirators or something from their backpacks, and they both whip it off their shoulder and take a knee, and,
Yeah.
like, I felt like there was a lot of emphasis on that to, like, bring out the fact that that was a game mechanic that got a lot of attention.
Yeah, we're also to
Um
assume that in that moment, Joel crafted a bunch of shivs as well.
Right, yeah, yeah, and, another when Tess and Joel and Ellie were together, and Joel had to boost Tess up to find another way around for them. Like that's such a Naughty Dog move.
Yeah. So I've loved that too, right? Like how you're like seeing how like these are really important like mechanics to the game that you see over and over again. Got to give them their spot in the starlight, at least for a second.
Yeah,
So that's been
yeah, it's so
enjoyable.
funny.
Um, but yeah, I mean the episode ends on a really good cliffhanger. Um, so we like know exactly like what's about to happen, based just off of the game. Like some really heavy stuff is going to happen, so I'm really excited to see how they like handle this as well. um yeah, I mean it's again, it's weird to say like this has like been my like least favorite episode, but like after two episodes, episode 2 was my least favorite episode just because I loved episode 1 so much. I was just like that's how shows go, right? Like you're always going to have technically a least favorite, but I can still recognize that this was a really well done episode, and it just sets up like a ton um for the overall like game and for what will be the show. So
It's so funny uh, that to me, and I'm assuming they're doing this intentionally because there's smart people who make these things. But not all of The Last of Us or The Last of Us Part 2 was like nonstop action, zombie horde, killing, blood, guts,
no.
veins in your teeth. Um, it was a lot of like walking around and experiencing what the world looks like when humans are having less of an impact on it. I mean, it was based off of a book
Hmm.
called The World Without Us. And it was funny. Last time I was with Chris at his house, he was playing The Last of Us Part 2, and just being able to watch it, and like he was just walking around doing safes, looking for materials and stuff, and
Hmm.
I was like, that's why I really loved these games because it wasn't just constant in your face. It's like you're experiencing the world
Yep.
and trying to actually like improve your chances of success. And I feel like the show is just kind of being realistic with that. I mean, it's not all, the fact that they were out in the woods and he's like, well, you don't have to worry about infected out here. You have to worry about people, and
Mhm.
introducing that dynamic of like, yeah, there was a plague essentially, but it's not just these zombies in air quotes that are the issue. I mean,
Right.
depending on where you go, it's people too. Um, it's interesting for TV because it doesn't necessarily make good TV if you're not like familiar with how this story works. I say good TV in like the critical sense, like what we see gets high ratings and what doesn't, but I
Mhm.
enjoy it. So
Yeah, also just to kind of show how strong the show's been doing, um, which it's been, I mean, just like what people are saying online is great and everything, but like, for the most part, you and I follow people who, only play or people who play games, and that's, kind of like the extent of it, right? But Benji Sales, great Twitter follow if you don't follow him. He tweeted, despite direct competition with the Grammys, The Last of Us episode 4 climbed significantly yet again in viewership. So episode 1 came in at 4.7 million, then 5.7, then 6.4, and then episode 4 had 7.5 million viewers. So people are
wow.
like itching for it and like watching it like right away, which is just incredible, just awesome to see.
And even more importantly, staying with it. I mean, I kind of anticipated that viewership this week was going to drop off, kind of for some of the reasons we talked about last week, where you get a lot of audiences are like, oh, cool, zombie survival movie, this is right on my alley. And then you have a whole hour, and however long these episodes are, hour and 5 minutes, uh, detailing a gay Armageddon Romeo and Juliet.
Right.
So I'm hoping that people were able to watch that episode, take it for what it was, realize that even in Armageddon, there are these types of relationships,
Gay
and
gay people
stick.
still exist,
Yes, there's not just like it's not like a Thanos snap his fingers and the gay people are gone.
though that's what
But
they wish it could be.
yeah, so hopefully people are, and there could also be a whole new audience that heard about this and how amazing that was, and just kind of came in, got caught up, and whatever. Um, Well, hopefully people are sticking with it, and seeing a different perspective and still being able to enjoy the story.
Yeah. It's been awesome.
Anyway,
Great to see. You'll love to see a video game adaptation do well.
yeah,
Give me an Assassin's Creed show where each season is like the different timelines instead of a 2.5 hour movie with Michael Fassbender that is fat half fast, if you ask me.
yeah,
See what I did there?
I did
Thank
kind
you.
of.
Yeah, I stuttered through it, but I got there in the
That's
end.
There's no other way to do that. So
Um all right. Anything else on episode 4 of The Last of Us?
no, I'm super stoked for episode 5. I loved this. Well, I loved probably what we're going to see next episode. I don't know about the episode after that, but getting into the deep stuff now.
Yeah. So, uh, just to give you all a heads up, next week will be a fun little journey into games with Chris, 1S Chris, because Mike is going to be on a little vacay. But then after that, we'll have our review at the end of that episode with a review of episodes 5 and episode 6 of The Last of Us at that point. So look forward to that. And other than that, I said it before, but be sure to listen to the Nintendo Direct uh, supplemental episode where we talk about some of the highlights from that. That will be releasing again later today. And yeah, appreciate you for sticking around. And if you could leave us a rating or review wherever you listen, it's greatly appreciated. And we'll talk to you next week. Be sure to share with a mom.